So I have a question for you guys, to
Yeah.
Kyle in particular.
Yes, sir.
So, in my opinion, the big initial mistake was Biden deciding to run again. I think Biden should have not tried to run again. We should have done a real primary, and there would have been a sort of equal show as the two parties pick their candidate. But given that didn't happen, what could the Democrats have done better? Do you think they should have run Shapiro, Buttigieg? Kamala was kind of like the one who could take over that apparatus because she was part of it already.
So they were set for failure.
Yeah.
And your scenario only works with, I guess, with Joe having enough forethought to know that he was going to decline the way he did. Because, I genuinely think there was a rather steep decline the last 18 months,
I do.
And I think particularly, during the window where he might have made that decision, he probably was good. He was probably like, I have one bad day a month. Like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, okay. So I forgot to feed the dog. I remembered to call the president of Uruguay, though, didn't I? It was that sort of thing. But then it got bad and it was too fucking late. You almost need a time machine to save the Democrats, because one of the things that nobody talked about was all that PAC money that had already been raised for the Biden-Harris campaign could only be used for a Biden or Harris. So when you were going to turn the reins over to someone, be it a Shapiro or a Buttigieg or what have you, they couldn't hang on to the PAC money. They couldn't utilize that. I don't know what you do with that, but it needed to go to one of them. So it just made sense to pick Harris. I think the biggest mistake and the only other move they had, if we're thinking of this like a video game or like a strategy game, was to pick a better VP. Like Tim Walz had 0 negatives, but I don't know how many positives he had. There was the alternative was the guy from Pennsylvania,
Shapiro.
And
they were worried because he's Jewish and they were trying to court a lot of pro-Palestine people, or at least that's the rationale I heard for them not using him.
So there's another. Apparently, Tim Walz was happy being VP. He's like, I'll be your VP. I'll support you. Shapiro's like, I want to be co-president. I want to lead the country with you. And she's like, nah, I'm not here to do that. I'm here to be, number one and number two, not 2 1s.
Yeah, your first lady can't be a co-president. She needs to get out there and do it.
Obviously, like, this wouldn't be put out there if it was the reality, but Shapiro's a smart enough guy that I imagine he knew this was going to be a very likely loss. And since he's invested in being president someday, he wouldn't want to tie himself as a VP to a ticket that loses.
I don't know. It's a lot of name recognition. I think Kamala's name's poisoned now. I think Waltz maybe along with her. That's her last run.
For sure.
To lose that badly. If it were close, she might say, look, you only gave me that's what I did with 108 days. Give me a full cycle, give me a hand-picked VP, a hand-picked this and that and the other. Give me a record that I can shit on, not one that I have to. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't change anything that Joe did since he's looking over my shoulder. Is he looking with his mouth? Is his mouth agape or is it closed? I need to know if he's listening or not.
Well, Joe's over there like, the claw machines are rigged. you can't
claw machines are rigged. He's on to something.
They got an iPhone in there and they tell you can get it, but I reach in there. I spent half of our deficit on this machine.
I agree with Kyle that Kamala's name is poison now.
Yeah.
But I thought that about Trump 4 years ago. So my predictions are sometimes
greatest
wrong.
winner of all time? I think not. The fact that he still hawks all that bullshit takes away from he should be so high above selling shoes and NFTs.
He's still selling shoes.
But he's just this door-to-door charlatan who
he hasn't delivered them yet. He just took the money.
Dude, do you remember? I remember when we found out about the watches, and as soon as I saw the watch, I was like, okay, but that's like an artist depiction of a watch, if you will. That's not like someone holding a watch. It's a rendering. And I remember someone even like messaging me like, that's actually a Swiss action. You can get those fairly affordably, and they're incredibly well made. They can't find where the watches are made, and it went to somewhere in Nebraska or something like that. Like they did the same thing they did with the Jewish pager explosions. They like tracked the company names down, and it ended up to like.
So you think Mossad might have got a hold of these watches?
I'm a little afraid if you're wearing a Trump watch, it could listen if it's ticking. Yeah. That's
I don't think like any sort of post-mortem on Harris and Walz's campaign is even like that useful. Like that, I don't think there was anyone they put in given how terrible the economy has been. Like
I
that
think
was
it's
going
very
to change
useful.
it.
I think it's useful if you're looking at how to defeat.
It was too little, too late.
Because all they did was demonize Trump instead of talk about how she can look. If either things are so good, then I'm going to keep them that way, or things need an adjustment, and I'm the gal to do it. You got to pick a lane, and she didn't. She felt like she couldn't because she's got her like. I don't know what their relationship is like, Kamala and Biden, but I kind of feel like they're close and they like each other as colleagues at the very least. And she didn't want to throw him under the bus, and you can understand that, you know? So it put her in a really weird position where all she had was Trump's bad, Trump's a dictator, Trump's a fascist, Mussolini, Hitler, blah, blah, blah. And she couldn't have a new economic plan that wasn't Bidenomics. She couldn't shift gears and get away from Bidenomics with her own visions, because just having those visions sort of suggests that you're not okay with the status quo as it is, that you don't like the way things are going, that if your voice was the one being listened to, you'd done option B instead of option A, as Biden has been doing. And the border stuff is just, everyone cares about the border now because they've seen that like it's millions and millions of people, and it's been such a big story. And there is crime. There is like migrant crime, and they're seeing the people come in from all around the world, and people don't like it. And they're saying, why can't we have a secure border?
Yeah,
I'm stuck on.
That's compelling.
I was waiting
And
for my
Trump
turn.
hung it around her neck like a fucking necklace, and she wore it
like an albatross.
like an albatross, because he's like, she's the border czar. Didn't you know? I don't think she's the border czar. He just said that, and she never did. And they were like, why don't you ever defend yourself? He says you're the border czar. You're not though. She's like, I don't like to talk about what he says, and I'm like, maybe you should on this one. I thought you were the border
it's
czar.
super tough. Now I'm all backed up with things I want to reply to. If you're defending yourself, you're losing. So I could see why she wanted to talk about her own stuff, but that's rough. Taylor said Democrat couldn't possibly win because the economy is so bad. He might be right. I hate to call him wrong, but I saw it differently. I think that the Democrats have this like unlikable cunt wing to them that makes them lose popularity contests. Trans people, I got nothing but love for you. If you're trans, I bet your life is pretty hard, and I'm not here to pile on. But you're not winning any popularity contests right now. And if you're a boy competing against girls in sports, you're crushing your people. Stop that. Stop that. Like just be a likable person trying to live your own life, and you live your own best life. And on the left, like, stop wrapping that around your shoulders like a cape and making it your identity.
Yeah.
Just stay a little more mainstream. Yeah.
The left, you're 100% right that the left shoots themselves in the foot immensely by trying to court this like fanatical, insane wing that's like, it's a good thing to trans kids, actually.
That was what Destiny's
crazy.
I think Destiny had a good tweet, not about the trans stuff particularly, but more about like the commies and the tankies on the left. Like, I don't know if it was before the election results were through or like maybe in the middle, but it was something like, if we lose this, then the left needs to cut all the leftist commies and the nonsense like radicals loose. We can win without them, but not with them. And I was like, yeah.
Oh, I like that phrasing. Yeah, we can win without them, but we can't win with them. And I understand the blue temptation to just make your tent as big as possible and have everybody in it. But some people look in the door of that tent and be like, it's all freaks and geeks in there. No, thank you.
Smells in there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's no wonder like young men turned for Trump. Like this kind of left stuff is so established, so
what about our
ingrained.
Latinos?
It's in
beautiful
school.
Latino men,
wonderful Latinos, and they identify that as like cringe because they're like, all this stuff being top down pushed on me. Like if you're some 17-year-old white kid and like there's been a lesson every year about how like your ancestors are bad and white people have a sort of original sin in the form of racism. And actually this trans stuff is totally normal. Don't trust your instincts looking at it that it's not. And like, that's going to push people away towards what is the new perceived counterculture, which is going to be the right wing.
Calling someone a white male is somehow akin to calling them an asshole. And I don't
on
like
the left.
it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like no one, people on the right don't call you a white male. That
if they
comes
do,
from
it's
the
a compliment. Though. They might say something like, well, of course I pulled over to help you. You're a white man.
but
I'd
yeah,
splashed you with mud if I'd have sent
I'm
you the drop of
tired of
miscegenation.
white man being used to discredit anything I've done well. Like, oh, that's not your accomplishment.
Yeah.
You're a white man. Anyone could do it with your head start. Or,
Mhm.
you know, like you're a white man. You have to apologize for this, that, or the other thing. No, I don't. I didn't do those things. And, you know, while there's some luck involved in everybody's success, all the way from me to Elon. I hate to put myself in the same sentence, but you know, it wasn't my whiteness that did it.
Yeah, 100%. And that sort of messaging, and like you vote Democrat, like even to you and to most people, that's incredibly alienating to like look at someone who's supposed to represent you and see them like malign your entire demographic. It's like, okay, well, why the hell would I vote for these people who very clearly have like animosity for me because of what I am? No, thank you.
I love that.
I love your
Latino
phrasing.
men
Yeah.
are coming over. I think that speaks volumes because it's working class brown people coming over to the Republican Party, giving Trump this huge popularity vote. It's also, I'm sure, because I saw how badly I saw it happen in Dearborn, Michigan, where the Muslim population is huge. It was what I said. They did not care for Genocide Joe, and they went and voted for Donald Trump, or they wrote in somebody. It wasn't an amount of people that mattered, but I saw in Atlanta, for example, because that's where we are, we kind of like paid more attention to that. All the write-ins, all the votes for the independents and Jill Stein and the Libertarian Party. I don't think, I don't know, maybe you add them all up and it might have swayed the vote a bit, but there was like 4,000 write-ins, I think. I wanted to know what they wrote in. I'd like to know what the top 10 write-in candidates
I wonder what
were.
normal is.
No,
Like I hear 4,000 write-ins.
Oh.
Like, is that a lot? Is that?
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know if that's.
It doesn't seem like.
Oh, that's the other thing that's really interesting. Taylor sent me a chart of total votes from 2016, 2020, 2024, and there's a red line and a blue line, obviously, for Republicans and Democrats. And last election cycle, of course, Donald Trump claimed the election was stolen from him with many millions of fake ballots. And it's like, I don't believe that. But that chart almost seemed to suggest sort of maybe that's what happened, because it's just like, wow, where did they find so many Democrats to vote last time? I'm glad they lost all those Democrats.
That chart was going viral
time.
A lot yesterday.
It was so
I didn't know
many
that.
more, like there was enough Democrats that voted in the last cycle to win this election for Kamala and like half of the next one. It was crazy.
Yeah, I know. To me, politics were more popular as a spectator sport at the end of 2020 than any time in my life. Yeah, I said that right.
Trump brings a crowd.
He does.